Hey, what's up guys? It's Jeff and I'm back with another video. This is going to be another 2015 NBA playlist prediction. As you can see, the Eastern Conference semifinals is all set. The Western Conference semifinals is yet to be finished. Clippers Spurs play in the decisive Game 7 tonight at 8. So let's get into the Eastern Conference predictions. So I was 4-4. I got all the teams right, but some of the games I was off by the number of games. So we're gonna start on top. On top, we got the number 1 seeded Atlanta Hawks hosting to the Washington Wizards, who are the number 5 seed. So the Hawks pretty much did okay in the first round. I really thought it was gonna go in 5 games, but it went 6. And the Brooklyn Nets actually tried to come back. They actually won both home games 3 and 4. Game 5 obviously went to the Hawks, but Game 6 I really thought the Nets could pull up since they won 3 and 4. They're capable of winning at home, and it was just a good game. Let me see, number 6. I actually can't see the score. Usually it does, but oh well. But the Hawks pulled it out in 6 games, so I had a correct team, but the number of games incorrect. So we'll go down to the Wizards. I really thought the Raptors was gonna pull out 2 games. I had the Wizards in 6, but I was 2 games off. Ended up being a 4-game sweep. I knew the Wizards were gonna win this, but I wasn't expecting a blowout sweep. The Raptors, they just didn't have anything. So who do you think I'm going to win? It's going to be a really close series. I think it goes a little bit to the distance. I'm picking the Hawks to beat the Wizards in 6 games. I think the Hawks wins both 1 and 2 in Atlanta. I think the Hawks win both home games 1 and 2 in Atlanta. I think they split the next 2 games in Washington. I think Washington ends up in Game 3. I think the Hawks take Game 4. So Hawks take a 3-1 lead. Game 5 is in Atlanta. I think the Wizards stay alive. The Wizards beat the Raptors games 1 and 2. I think the Wizards are capable away in an away game. I think Game 5 in Atlanta goes to the Wizards. They stay alive. Game 6 is in Washington. If you look at that first round series, Atlanta beat Brooklyn in Game 6 in Brooklyn. I think the Hawks can do it to the Wizards. I think Game 6 goes to the Hawks, located in Washington. So that's my pick. I think the Hawks are going to win Games 1 and 2. I think Game 3 goes to the Washington Wizards. I think Game 4 goes to the Hawks. Game 5 goes to Washington, and Game 6 goes to the Hawks. Hawks winning the series in 6 games. I got the Hawks moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. The next series we're going to look at is the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number 2 seeded, hosting to the Chicago Bulls, the 3 seeded. So, looking back in the first series, the Cleveland Cavaliers, there's actually another 4-game sweep. There's been 3 series that have been a 4-game sweep. That's Cleveland and Celtics, the Hawks and Wizards, Raptors, and the Warriors, and the New Orleans. Those are the 3 series that have been swept. So, let me say this: the Celtics had nothing. They had nothing. Cleveland Cavaliers just outscored them. They had everything. Cleveland LeBron James just went monstrous. J.R. Smith, Kevin Love, but I'm gonna talk about what happened to them. So, and the Bulls, the Bulls went up 3-0. The Bucks won the next 2 games, and the Bulls just absolutely destroyed Milwaukee in the last game. It was a blowout. Game 6, I was looking at the score and I was like, damn. So the Bucks just tried, but it wasn't enough. The Bulls just destroyed them, and they just embarrassed them in their home court. Milwaukee fans probably was getting way quiet, so the Bulls move on Derrick Rose was the key player in this series, of course, so many of you know what happened. So I'm going to talk about what happened to Kevin Love and J.R. Smith. So J.R. Smith gets ejected from the game for, like, I believe it was elbowing or a punch in the face. I can't remember, hitting the face, whatever. But J.R. Smith is suspended for, I believe it was 2 to 3 games, I'm not sure. And one of the periods, oh my god, Kevin Love gets his, like, shoulder, like, popped out or something. It was just ridiculous. So Cleveland Cavaliers, they lost 2 of their probably good players. They're left with LeBron James. I don't know anyone else on Cleveland, but that's actually going to be really troubling for the Cavaliers in the next series. Chicago, they've been playing well. I know probably the Bulls are favored to beat the Cavaliers since, Chicago Bulls fans will probably say that, oh, we're going to win. Cleveland's got nothing since Kevin Love and J.R. Smith is gone. Not necessary, guys. You got LeBron James again. Cleveland been playing well. But, I actually like Cleveland here. I think Cleveland can pull it out. But, I don't think it's going to be like a short series. The Bulls, you do not underestimate the Bulls. They got shots, they got defense, so I think this is going to be a 7-game series. I think Cleveland wins and beats Chicago in 7 games. Chicago will have the edge. I actually think Cleveland's going to have trouble with the first 3 games since they won't have, Kevin Love and J.R. Smith. But, I actually think Chicago's going to win Game 1 in Cleveland. I think Cleveland pulls out in Game 2, so 1-1. Game 3 in Chicago, I think Chicago actually wins Game 3. Chicago's really good at home. They won both home games in the first round. Game 4 I'm going to give to Cleveland. They're really good on the road. They beat the Celtics on the road. So 2-2 after Game 4. Game 5 in Cleveland. I was talking about the Bulls, how they demolished the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 6. I actually think Chicago is going to beat Cleveland in Game 5 in Cleveland. I'm giving Chicago to win Game 5 in Cleveland. I talked about how the Bulls can beat teams away and on the road. So, Chicago takes a 3-2 lead into Game 6 in Chicago. At the time, maybe Chicago Bulls fans saying that, oh, we got this, Cleveland's done, we're going to win in 6 games. Not necessary. Cleveland's been really good on the road, too. I actually think Cleveland stays alive in Game 6 in Chicago. I think Cavaliers absolutely demolished the Bulls in Game 6. So, I actually think it's going to be all over the place. The series, the home court advantage doesn't really matter in this game. And Game 7... in Cleveland, it all decides. I think it's going to be a really close game. I actually think it might go to overtime. I'm not sure. Maybe I actually predict that. I actually think the Cavaliers in both games probably will go to at least 1 overtime. Definitely not Game 7, but Game 7, I think I'm giving it to the Cavaliers to win Game 7 in a close one. Cleveland fans go nuts. They're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's my pick. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to beat the Chicago Bulls in the 7 well-fought series. So, that's how I'm going. So, here we are. I'm going to give my picks again. I'm going to go over again. On top, we got the 1 Atlanta Hawks and the 5-seeded Wizards. I think the Hawks are going to beat the Wizards in 6 games. Below, we just talked about it, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers is going to beat the Bulls in the 7-fought series. That's going to give a matchup of 1-seeded Atlanta Hawks and number 2, Cleveland Cavaliers. The Hawks and the Cavaliers is my pick. Both of those teams will collide in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's going to be a good game. So that's it for my pick. And I'll be back for the Western Conference right after the game ends tonight. Maybe I'll probably get the Western Conference tomorrow. So, I'm Jeff, and yeah, I'll be back. So, yeah.